No, you're not seeing double. I do actually have two of these Motorola 9T1s currently at my place. This is the one I just got running last Friday night. And this is my set that I've had for 2 or 3 years now. But there's a problem with my set. Well, one, it hasn't been restored, so it's not working yet. But cosmetically, the cabinet's damaged. Which is why I got it for a pretty reasonable price. But ever since then, I've been trying to figure out some way to repair the cabinet. Maybe make a mold or use Bondo or something. The worst part is here. There should be a piece of Bakelite curving around here. Without it being there, the glass is loose. And it just doesn't look that good. See, that's how it should look. There are also stress cracks down here, up in here, and structurally, probably the worst problem is that there's a crack running all down here, which I have glued back together, but it's not quite as strong as the original, and it's also kind of dull overall. I've buffed it out as best I could, and it's a heck of a lot better than it was when I got it, but I've seen better. So, why am I talking about this now? Well, you may have noticed it's sitting on top of a box. This box should contain another one of these, minus the picture tube and the knobs. Somebody was selling one, a complete set, I think in Virginia, and another TV collector just needed the picture tube. And he tipped me off and said, hey, I just need the picture tube, and I know you're looking for a cabinet, so, you know, he put me in contact with the guy who was selling the set, and we arranged shipping, and it just arrived today. So I've definitely got my fingers crossed that it was not damaged, and that it's in pretty good shape. He said it didn't have any cracks or any major problems, so we'll see. It seems to be pretty well packed, and I didn't hear any parts rattling around inside when I brought it up. Oh, and pardon the mess that's all over. Believe it or not, today I am going to start moving stuff into a storage locker. So that doesn't mean I'm going to start going nuts and buying more stuff. I'm really hoping to just free up space in here so I can move around and work on stuff more easily. Looks like underneath a couple layers of heavy paper we've got a box. Does say Fragile TV all over it. My buddy brought it to the UPS store like this, and they decided they needed to wrap it with the paper. So of course all these Fragile TV markings meant nothing because they were covered up by the paper. And we've got a sea of peanuts, it looks like. Doesn't appear to be broken, not on this side anyways. It is scuffed up though. Got a back. It looks to be in pretty good shape too. It's got the cheater, what's left of the cheater cord. Did break off up here though on the hinge, but that could probably be glued back. This whole back is hinged like so. Wow, filled the entire inside with, oh, that's odd. It's a shield for the CRT base. What's odd is it's got the chassis inside that's faced backwards. This is the front of the chassis with the knob sticking out. The whole thing should be rotated 180. Nice to have a spare chassis, but I don't really need one at the present. Looks like it's got some of the tubes still in it too. Well, it's got a few scratches and some goo on it, but otherwise it appears to be intact. The glass is missing, but I think he said he was going to stick it in here somewhere, so it might be mixed in with these peanuts or somewhere in a bag in here. Otherwise, I can use mine. Although mine does have a bit of a scrape on it, so I wouldn't mind getting a replacement. Something I noticed is a little odd is the grill cloth is subtly different on this than the other two. But very subtly different. Either that or this is just really dirty. It's hard to say. So I might be using the cloth from my other set to put into this one. I'll put them side by side so we can get a better comparison. Here are the three cabinets stacked up in a little pyramid for comparison. Normally I do not recommend stacking up TVs as it does stress the Bakelite, but in this case this cabinet is empty and doesn't weigh much, plus I put a cushion underneath it. And now that I've seen them more closely, actually it is the same grill cloth. It's just that this in my old cabinet is quite clean, and this is rather dirty. Stinks a bit too. I bet the set's owner was a smoker. So I think I'll go with mine. And I think with this piece of the cabinet intact, I'll be able to flatten this out. See, mine's kind of flopping around here because it's not tightly secured at this side. Otherwise, though, it's not bad. I think these flecks here will come off. I think that's paint. And there are a few scuffs here and there, but I was reading about a tip to try a little stain. Red mahogany stain on this can really bring it back. And then here's some scratches on top. Deeper ones, probably can't do much about. This crap should come off. And the side's in fairly decent condition. Now as for the chassis that just came with this cabinet, it's pretty rough. It's one of the rougher Motorola chassis I've come across. It's got rust. Ballast is completely trashed, and underneath there's some evidence it's been worked on and perhaps abandoned. We've got some wires that have been cut off here with little sticky labels on them, and I can see some parts have been replaced. For example, down in here, I think that big guy is an original high voltage capacitor. Then we've got a couple ceramic disc caps, and then some more modern plastic caps. You really shouldn't use ceramic caps for this. They should be plastic because of the characteristics they have. The ceramic can distort the sawtooth signals. I figured this would be good for spare parts if nothing else. For example, my blonde Motorola set has a damaged high voltage potentiometer. As I can see, one of these already is too. These plastic extension shafts here prevent you from getting shocked when you make adjustments to the set. There are several thousand volts on these pots, so you want to have these long plastic extenders on there. Here's the chassis I just received on the left, and on the right is the chassis from my old 9T1. This chassis may be a bit dirty, but other than that it's in much better condition. For example, there's no rust, and we can see now what this trashed ballast would have looked like when it was new. And as for underneath, I've already mentioned some of the problems with this chassis. By comparison, as near as I can tell, this chassis is 100% original. Every capacitor, with the exception of this orange cap, is branded Motorola, even the high voltage caps. This orange one is a mighty midget, as they are in every Motorola chassis I've seen so far. So I'm sure that's original. So when I do get around to recapping this set, I'm definitely going to take the time to restuff all these caps. As for the cabinet, I did about 3 passes with some Novus number 2, followed by some Wires cleaner wax, and it's looking a lot better. Better than I was expecting, actually. Much smoother and shinier than my old beat up cabinet. Sure, there's the scratches are still visible here and there. For those, I will try that trick with some red mahogany stain, and I think those will become far less noticeable. The only problem I found on the cabinet is there is a crack from here to the back that runs all the way through both sides. Right here is where a screw goes through that mounts the back to the cabinet, and I imagine that got stressed. Plus, of course, you got the holes drilled through here, so not surprising if it's going to crack. That's where it would crack. And what I'm going to do to reinforce that a bit so it doesn't get any worse is use some 2-part epoxy. But I'm not just going to smear it on the back. I'm going to take a Dremel cutoff wheel and cut some grooves in here, and then put on the epoxy. I read about that technique online. The idea is that by getting it really down in there with some T-cuts, it'll bond a lot better. I've also seen some guys go so far as to put little like stainless steel nails embedded inside the epoxy, kind of like the equivalent of rebar and concrete. But other than that, very happy with this cabinet. So what's left, a little bit of work to do on the cabinet, and then swap the picture tube, which is a bit of a chore, so I'm not going to do it right now. And then I can just slide the chassis in. Well, I'm afraid that's all I've got for you guys tonight. Not exactly a full-blown Friday night restoration, but it's the best I could do right now. It's been a very busy week between work and the new storage space. I've started to move some stuff in there, and I'm going to be moving a whole bunch more. So I think that'll really help me out to free up some space so I can work on things more comfortably.